She's the tragic heroine, forever wailing. I'm dying. Sick. She dumped her medicine. Sniveling. He doesn't care I'm dying. She fell comatose. The Marquis grieved and blinded my left eye for neglect. The concubine framed her. I'd begged her to defend herself. He'll mourn when I'm dead, she said. The concubine took it out on me, beating me daily. On her deathbed, the Marquis frolicked with the concubine. I begged him to come. Let him regret missing my last breath. She said. She died. He wept briefly, then had me beaten to death for failing her. Reborn. She's pouring medicine into a flower pot. Sobbing. Does he know I'm dying? I watched. Let her rot. Welcome to my channel. If you like this story, please click to subscribe. There are more wonderful stories waiting for you to listen to. Chapter 1. This wasn't the first time she had poured the medicine into the flower pot. So I didn't try to persuade her. I waited patiently until she had finished pouring the medicine. Then poured some tea from the pot on the table and handed it to her. Miss, you don't have to drink the medicine. Have some tea to moisten your throat. The sickly young miss took the tea from me. But before she could take 2 sips, she started coughing. She clutched her chest, leaned against the window, and wept sorrowfully. Shadowy. Do you think the Marquis would feel sorry if he knew I'm dying? If the young miss misses the Marquis, I'll go fetch him. The young lady glanced at me, then suddenly threw the empty teacup at my forehead. Mind your own business. You're not allowed to tell the Marquis about my illness. If you dare to say another word, I'll cut out your tongue. A bruise appeared on my forehead, and I bowed my head. One of the common flaws of female protagonists in tragic literature, they won't tell the male lead she's dying until the very last moment. So in her previous life, the young miss watched helplessly as I was tortured to lose an eye in my life because of her stubbornness. I couldn't let her notice anything unusual, so I knelt down and spoke obediently. Please calm down, young miss. The Marquis cares deeply for you. He only goes to the other concubines at night because he's concerned about your illness. That's true. After serving the Marquis that night, shuangwen could barely walk. The young lady was soothed by my words and said. Then shuangwen dared to flaunt the Marquis's affection for her in front of me. She doesn't know that when the Marquis is with me, he's always been incredibly gentle. Under the influence of the tea, the young lady recalled the details of her time with the Marquis. Although it had been 2 months since the Marquis last visited her room, she firmly believed that he was only fulfilling his duty with the other concubines. Her face flushed with desire, and her demeanor grew increasingly flirtatious. She did not notice that I had slipped a potion called daytime lust into her tea. I quietly left the warm chamber and called the young maid who was waiting outside. Will Dr. Su Chang come today? The young maid replied. Dr. Su comes every afternoon to take the lady's pulse. Didn't you forget? Sister Shadowy? Of course I hadn't forgotten, I was just confirming. The young lady has drunk the medicine and gone to sleep. No one except Dr. Su is to disturb her today. Do you understand? As the lady's attendant maid, my words carried weight in the courtyard, and the other maids all nodded in agreement. After making all the arrangements, I rushed straight to the listening to the wind courtyard where the Marquis was staying. The Marquis was discussing matters with his colleagues. I burst into tears and shouted outside. Marquis! Hurry and go see the wife of the Marquis. She said she's about to die. After being reborn, I realized that the world I was in was a vast realm of death-themed literature. Miss Li Shuyu was the female lead of this death-themed literature. Every day, she clutched her chest like she's enduring abuse and betrayal from men without resistance, only muttering to herself in a weak voice, he doesn't know I'm about to die. When I die, he will surely be heartbroken. Won't he? Losing the one you love is the heaviest punishment for a man, and I am the disposable maid in this grand dead person's literature, Shadowy. Li Shuyu is the female lead, and Gu Shao, the loyal and brave Marquis, is the male lead. The Gu family and the Li family were once close allies, and Li Shuyu and Gu Shao were betrothed since childhood. Later, the Gu family fell into disgrace, and Li Shuyu publicly reneged on the marriage. Heartbroken, Gu Shao joined the military. 3 years later, he earned the title of loyal and brave Marquis through military achievements. Driven by a desire for revenge, Gu Shao actively sought to marry Li Shuyu. After bringing her into the mansion, he deliberately neglected and mistreated her. At first, Li Shuyu defied him, refusing to take her medicine when she fell ill. Eventually, her illness worsened, and the doctor declared she had little time left. Her medicine required 3 hours of boiling, and I would rise before dawn each day to prepare it, only finishing a bowl of medicine by noon. Li Shuyu, however, took the bowl of medicine and poured it over the potted plants by the window. Sighing sadly, the Marquis hasn't come to the courtyard today. He's still angry with me. Does he even know that I'm about to die? Miss, if you don't tell him yourself and don't let Dr. Su reveal it, how would the Marquis know? I couldn't help but say, should I go fetch the Marquis now so you can talk to him? Li Shuyu flew into a rage. Don't you dare meddle, you lowly servant. Later, Li Shuyu fainted at a banquet, and Gu Shao rushed to embrace her. When Li Shuyu woke up, she gloated. Shao Dai. Look. He still cares about me. I couldn't respond to her words because my left eye was throbbing in agony. After Li Shuyu fainted that day, Gu Shao reprimanded me. As the lady's attendant, how did you take care of your mistress? You couldn't see that the lady was ill, could you? Then you don't need this eye anymore. He ordered someone to gouge out my left eye using military torture as punishment. When Li Shuyu woke up, she saw my eye and was startled at first, then drove me out of the inner courtyard. Later, she realized that none of the other maids were as capable as me, so she brought me back to her side. Seeing me keeping my head down and covering my left eye, she said, "You lost an eye. Yet you secured the Marquis's favor for me for several days. For a slave like you, that's quite an honor." At that time, I was terrified of the Marquis's punishment. I knelt on the ground, begging the young lady to use this opportunity to clear up the past misunderstandings. Li Shuyu, however, said indifferently, "I want him to discover my suffering from back then on his own. Only then will he feel more compassion for me." Li Shuyu had overestimated Gu Zhao's patience toward her. The misunderstanding from years ago remained unresolved, and soon a rift formed between them again. This time, the Marquis brought back a beautiful concubine from outside. The moment she entered the mansion, she relied on her favor to provoke Li Shuyu, even accusing her of feigning illness to compete for the Marquis's affection. When the Marquis confronted her, Li Shuyu refused to speak in her own defense. That night, Gu Shao summoned Li Shuyu to his bedchamber but made her kneel outside the hall, forcing her to listen to him and the concubine's intimate lovemaking. Li Shuyu coughed up blood that night. I begged her to explain to the Marquis and seek help from her family, saying that if we could just hire a few more doctors, they could prove she was truly seriously ill, and easily expose the concubine's slander. But the young lady wiped the blood from her lips and said calmly, "Don't tell him. When he finds out I'm really dying, he'll regret treating me so harshly today." After that day, the concubine became even more brazen. Since Li Shuyu was the official wife of the Marquis's mansion, the concubine dared not act too outrageously. So she took it out on me, the maidservant who had come with her as part of the dowry. She found various excuses every day to cause trouble in the courtyard, seizing on minor mistakes to whip me with a whip, leaving my body covered in injuries. My screams echoed throughout the entire Marquis's mansion, but the young mistress sat in the warm pavilion, praying to Buddha, paying no heed. At night, I cried out to her, asking why she couldn't protect me. She replied calmly, When the Marquis finds out I'm dying, that concubine will pay for everything she's done today. Just endure it for now. That winter, the young lady heard daily rumors of the Marquis and the concubine's affection. Enraged, her condition worsened. On the night the Marquis celebrated the concubine's birthday, she suddenly vomited blood and lay on the brink of death. I rushed to the front hall to summon the Marquis, but the young lady grabbed my hand and said, "The greatest punishment for a man is to prevent him from seeing the one he loves in their final moments. When I die, the Marquis will know the pain of losing me. He will surely regret it deeply." Suddenly, several fireworks exploded outside the hall. In the midst of the festive chaos, the young lady died before my eyes. At dawn, the Marquis finally arrived, only to see the young lady's lifeless body. As the young lady had predicted, the Marquis wept bitterly for her, seemingly overcome with grief. But this sorrow lasted only 3 days before the Marquis turned his anger toward me. "When the lady was on her deathbed, why didn't you come to report it? You prevented me from seeing her one last time." I trembled as I knelt on the ground and truthfully replied, "It was the lady who forbade me from informing the Marquis." "Are you saying that the lady hated me even as she lay dying?" I dared not respond, but the Marquis suddenly burst into laughter. As he laughed, he suddenly pointed at me. "Bring her here. Drag this treacherous servant who has driven a wedge between me and the lady away. Flog her 100 times until she dies." I begged for mercy, not understanding what I had done wrong. As I was being dragged away by the guards, I saw the Marquis lying on top of Li Shuyu's body, murmuring, "I was wrong. My lady. I was wrong. Please wake up. I beg you." Someone nearby reminded him, "My lord, it's hot. The wife of the Marquis is already decomposing." "You're lying. The wife of the Marquis doesn't smell at all." "She doesn't smell at all," he vomited. As Gu Shao vomited, I was beaten until my spine was broken. I died with my mouth filled with blood. After my death, my soul lingered for a long time. I saw Gu Shao brutally execute his concubine, saying he would have her buried with his wife. The concubine begged for mercy, saying she was pregnant, but even with a child in her womb, she could not escape death. On the day the concubine died, Li Shuyu returned. I saw her throw herself into Gu Zhao's arms and tell him, "On that day, the Marquis broke my heart, and I only wanted to be with you for eternity. But after I died, you were heartbroken and killed the maid, the concubine, and the child in her womb. All of this proves that you love me. Heaven has mercy on me, allowing me to be reborn to reunite with you. Gu Shao, you must cherish and love me." It was then that I realized this world was a vast tragedy, where the only way for a woman to become the true protagonist was to complete the plot of being tormented by a man in life and then having him regret it after her death. Even if she dies, the system will resurrect her on the spot because of the men's regret, granting her a healthy body and wealth and honor. The concubine on the ground died with her eyes wide open, her lower body still bleeding from the miscarriage. It turned out she was just like me, nothing more than cannon fodder in the dead literature, used to validate the female lead's love through the plot. My last conscious thought was seeing Li Shuyu and Gu Shao embracing each other happily. When I opened my eyes again, I had already reincarnated back to the day Li Shuyu poisoned him. The female lead in dead people's literature must die. Li Shuyu died tragically and resolutely in her previous life, so she successfully triggered Gu Zhao's regret, thereby earning her rebirth. If in this life, I make her die in disgrace and never become Gu Zhao's white moonlight again? I cried and screamed. And sure enough, I cried Gu Shao out. Upon hearing that the young lady was about to die, he rushed toward the autumn water pavilion. The male lead in dead people's literature would naturally care about the female lead's life or death. I wiped away the fake tears and followed him. As we passed the garden, we saw Su Tai's figure enter the autumn water pavilion first. When Gu Shao pushed open the door with a worried expression, The disheveled young lady was clinging to Su Tai. Dr. Su's face turned red, and he shouted about etiquette and morality. But his hands did not truly push the young lady away until he saw Gu Shao at the door. Lord! Su Chang suddenly pushed the young lady away and knelt on the ground trying to explain. After I died, I learned that this doctor named Su Chang was Li Shuyu's system in this world. She called him doctor on the surface, but privately referred to him as the system. This human-shaped system had no other special abilities besides prescribing medicine for Li Shuyu to fake her illness, controlling her death time, and reminding her to follow the plot. In my previous life, after I died, Su Chang said during the autopsy, a maid is just a lowly disposable item in this world. Once she's dead, she's dead. I wonder if this noble system ever predicted that it would be outwitted by such a lowly disposable item like me? In this world, the Marquis Gu Shao holds the power of life and death in his hands. Killing a doctor is as easy as breathing. The system, parasitizing on a mortal body, must submit and kneel to survive. Yet the young lady, under the effects of the daytime aphrodisiac, was still immersed in desire. In dead person literature, a prerequisite for the female lead to become the male lead's white moonlight after her death is that she must have loved her husband loyally. The scene before him shattered Li Shuyu's image of loyalty and purity in Gu Zhao's heart. From now on, whenever Gu Zhao reminisces about Li Shuyu, he will inevitably recall the green hat she wore today. Gu Zhao's gaze toward the young lady was tinged with anger and disgust. Pour a basin of cold water on her to wake her up. I obediently followed his orders and poured a basin of cold water over Li Shuyu's head. Li Shuyu shivered in the cold water, suddenly coming to her senses. She quickly realized she had been betrayed. Shao Dai. How dare you drug me? I followed the Marquis's orders, tying her hands and feet with a rope, while pinning her to the ground and binding her. I whispered in her ear. The young lady keeps saying you're going to die. You're going to die. I grinned coldly. If you want to die, go die yourself. This time, don't drag me down with you. The young lady finally panicked. She knew that once she was accused of adultery, her plan would be completely ruined. It was this slut who drugged me. She wants to frame me for having an affair with Dr. Su. She crawled to Gu Zhao's feet. Husband, you must believe me. Su Chang immediately chimed in. That's right. That's right. It was this wicked girl who tried to frame the lady and sow discord between the Marquis and his wife. I looked completely innocent, my lord. Please discern the truth. I have served the young miss for many years, sharing her joys and sorrows. I only wish for her well-being so that I may also live a better life. Why would I frame her for adultery? Gu Shao shook the now cold tea on the table, but there was indeed a dose of Byrene in this tea. You brewed it. White day lust is such an expensive and high-quality herbal medicine. How could I possibly have access to it? The young lady suddenly looked at me. White day lust was indeed an expensive ingredient. The bottle of white day lust in her room was specially prepared by Su Chang at her request, specifically to seduce Gu Shao. She had secretly added it several times, and Gu Shao had always assumed it was a normal physical reaction, never suspecting anything. Why are you looking at me like that? Miss? Could this medicine be something you've been hiding? No. Of course not. How could I have such a filthy medicine? Li Shuyu shifted her eyes nervously. If Gu Shao found out she had such medicine, what would he think of her? After her death, how could she still be the pure and flawless moonlight in Gu Zhao's heart? I smiled and let Li Shuyu off lightly. After all, my target today wasn't her, but Su Chang. This system. Only by eliminating the system would I have a chance to fight back in this world. Then this medicine must have been brought in by Dr. Su Chang. Why don't we search his medicine chest? Gu Shao ordered his men to bring Su Chang's medicine chest and search it in front of him. Sure enough, they found a bottle of white day lust. Impossible. This can't be. How did this medicine end up in my medicine chest? Shao Dai. Was it you? Su Chang suddenly turned to the 5 maids behind me. Or was it you? In Li Shuyu's courtyard, including me, there were 6 maids in total. After being reborn, I immediately gathered these 5 sisters. Like me, they were often scolded by the Marquis for the young Mrs. illness, and having their monthly allowance deducted was a common occurrence. The young Miss is weak and often ill. All because that Su doctor is incompetent. Yet the young Miss trusts only him. It seems that only by getting rid of Su Chang can the young Miss's illness improve, and we sisters will no longer suffer because of her illness. The first to respond was Xiao Hong, limping forward. Is that true? If we just change doctors, the young Miss's illness will be cured? We won't be punished anymore because of her illness? Xiao Hong's foot had been broken by Gu Zhao's cane. 2 months earlier, Li Shuyu had deliberately refused to take her medicine and fainted feebly in front of Gu Zhao. Xiao Hong, who was standing too far away, hadn't been able to catch her in time. Li Shuyu had scraped her skin a bit, and Gu Zhao flew into a rage. You didn't even help the lady when she fainted. Your legs are so clumsy, just break them off. At 16, Xiao Hong had her right ankle tendon broken, leaving her permanently lame. With Xiao Hong leading the way, the other sisters in the courtyard also spoke up. Some had injuries. Others had sick family members but were being withheld their silver. Their hearts were pure, they never blamed Li Shuyu for her frail health. After I guided them, they came to hate Su Chang, the incompetent doctor. So I stole the bottle of daytime lust hidden by Li Shuyu's bed. When Su Chang entered the inner courtyard, the 5 maids worked together. While he wasn't paying attention, the bottle of medicine was slipped into Su Chang's medicine chest, and later retrieved by Gu Zhao's men. Su Chang had poisoned the Marquis' mansion's wife, intending to commit adultery. The evidence was irrefutable. Dare to covet this Marquis' woman. Bring Su Chang here and beat him to death with clubs. Su Chang was startled and shouted at Li Shuyu. Li Shuyu, say something. Don't forget what our relationship is. He was reminding Li Shuyu not to forget that he was the system and her only ally in this world. But to Gu Zhao, these words sounded like a sign that there was indeed a romantic relationship between Li Shuyu and Su Chang. Gu Zhao looked at Li Shuyu with a subtle expression, and forced out a few words through clenched teeth. Lady, it seems your relationship is indeed special. Li Shuyu, desperate to protect herself, immediately turned on him. Dr. Su, I trusted you so much, yet you dare to harbor such thoughts toward me. Lord Gu, I am innocent. You must believe me. Gu Zhao lifted Li Shuyu's chin. You're innocent? Then if I kill him right in front of you, won't you feel a thing? Li Shuyu shook her head in fear. I wouldn't feel a thing. If killing him can prove my innocence, I'd rather see him torn to pieces. Gu Zhao curled his lips into a wicked smile and untied Li Shuyu himself. Madam, I believe you were framed. Now, go send this incompetent doctor on his way. Su Chang had already been dragged into the courtyard, shouting wildly. Li Shuyu stepped forward and whispered to him. System, Su Chang is just a host for you. If he dies, you can find another host. If you don't die today, Gu Zhao will assume I have a secret affair with you. You told me that the female lead in dead literature must be loyal and flawless. You should let me fulfill my destiny. Host, you speak so easily. Finding another host body in this world isn't that simple. Moreover, I can feel the excruciating pain of being beaten to death. System, as long as I can trigger Gu Zhao's regret after I die, the mission will be successful, and I'll definitely be reborn and live a life of wealth and honor. Right? That's correct. But host, are you really willing to abandon me? Li Shuyu's eyes hardened. You said it yourself. In this world, everything except the host is just a tool and a disposable item. System, you're no exception. Host, you're such a cruel woman. Su Chang glared at Li Shuyu. clenched his teeth, and said, "But as long as you can become the female lead successfully, I can ascend with you. My physical body dying doesn't matter. Just make sure to protect my eyes. The eyes are the core of every system. Remember that. Without the eyes, I'm truly finished." Li Shuyu looked at his dark eyes and nodded, "No one will touch your eyes." Just as the guard was about to carry out the punishment, I casually mentioned, "Lord Ho. Dr. Su has taken the lady's pulse so many times. Those dishonest eyes must have looked at the lady countless times." Gu Shao, reminded by my words, flew into a jealous rage and slammed the teacup down. "Bring someone. Rip out Su Chang's eyes." Li Shuyu was startled. "My lord. Why suddenly rip out his eyes? Is the lady upset?" "No. I'm not. I just think this is too cruel." "Cruel?" Gu Shao embraced Li Shuyu and covered her eyes with his hand. "If it's cruel, the lady doesn't have to watch." He was eerily gentle, yet his eyes blazed with murderous intent. Li Shuyu trembled all over, too scared to speak up for him. Gu Shao was ruthless. He punished his subordinates by gouging out their eyes or crippling their legs. I knew that all I needed to do was to provoke him slightly, and Su Chang's eyes would be lost. "My lord, I used to be a butcher who slaughtered pigs. I'm the best at gouging out pig eyes. Why not let me do it?" Gu Shao looked at me with an unexpected expression of admiration. He was bloodthirsty and ruthless, so he naturally admired those who were like him. "All right. Let me see how brave you are, little maid." I took the dagger and stepped closer to Su Chang, who was bound and gagged. When he found out he was going to be beaten to death with clubs, Su Chang remained relatively calm. But when he saw my knife slowly approaching his eyes, he finally screamed in terror. The sound transformed from a human voice into a piercing electrical noise. "You lowly creature. What do you intend to do to me?" "Lowly creature?" I smiled, grabbed his hair, and performed a flowery sword move. "System, is that your name?" The system suddenly widened its eyes. I clearly saw a black-blue, bullet-like sphere beneath the disguise of those human eyes. "You'll soon experience what it means to have your soul shattered by this lowly creature. The pain of having your eyes gouged out, you'll taste it too." I slashed his eyes with a knife, pulled out the sphere, and crushed it under my foot. A piercing electrical hum filled the air above Marquis's mansion. Inside the house, Li Shuyu suddenly covered her ears. Her face twisted in panic and pain. Moments later, the electrical hum erupted into a dull explosion. I stood on the blood-soaked remains of the system, coldly staring at Li Shuyu's pale face. Miss, the system is gone. Your life is now in my hands. You liked being the female lead in a story about death, didn't you? I'll let you experience what it's like to wish you were dead." I exposed Dr. Su's true colors. "Miss, you won't blame me, will you?" After Su Chang's body was dragged away, I washed my hands and knelt before Li Shuyu, pleading innocently. "You have done nothing wrong, you have even done a service." Gu Shao settled the matter with his words, and Li Shuyu could only grit her teeth and say, "Of course I won't blame you. I should thank you instead." "That's good." I only suspected Dr. Su because he kept prescribing medicine for the young miss. Yet her condition never improved. Everything I did was for the young miss's sake. Gu Shao, after hearing my words, gave the old steward a nod and said, "Since Su Chang is dead, let's invite another doctor to examine the lady." The newly arrived Dr. Zhang was Gu Zhao's confidant. Li Shuyu reluctantly allowed Dr. Zhang to take her pulse. Dr. Zhang spoke bluntly. "The lady does indeed have a mild cold. This illness can be cured with medicine, but delaying treatment could be life-threatening. Has the lady not been taking the correct medicine?" I grabbed the opportunity to speak. "The lady has been depressed and unhappy. The medicine I boiled was poured onto the plants by the lady. Master Gu, please persuade the lady." In my previous life, she poured out the medicine, turning a minor illness into a serious one, and I was the one who ended up being punished. This time, I took the opportunity to reveal the truth about pouring out the medicine. If Li Shuyu tried to use her old trick of playing the victim to evoke Gu Zhao's pity, at least this madman wouldn't turn his rage on me. Gu Zhao asked, "Why won't you drink the medicine?" Li Shuyu glared at me as if she wanted to kill me. But she spoke to Gu Zhao in a weak voice. "The medicine prescribed by Dr. Su is too bitter, I cannot drink it." Gu Zhao ordered Dr. Zhang to prescribe a new medicine, then stood up and left. Before leaving the small courtyard, he turned back to look at me and said to Li Shuyu, "This maid you brought as a dowry is quite clever. Do not scold her for today's incident." Li Shuyu nodded in agreement. But as soon as Gu Zhao was gone, she slapped me across the face and shouted, "You worthless servant! How dare you scheme against me?" I covered my face innocently, I was only thinking of the young lady. That Dr. Su is indeed an incompetent doctor. You dare to talk back. I didn't realize you had the nerve to gouge someone's eyes out. She slapped me again, but I didn't fight back, only submitting obediently. Li Shuyu was probably still scared by the scene where I had gouged her eyes out. She kicked and beat me, seemingly trying to confirm that I wouldn't fight back or resist, thereby gaining a sense of security. I did not retaliate, allowing her to beat and scold me. The Marquis's mansion was a place where people could be devoured. Even the system from another world feared the power of Gu Zhao's hands. So as a lowly maid, I naturally knew to bow my head and submit. I knew Gu Zhao had already noticed me, and he would definitely come back to the inner courtyard. So I just had to endure it. By the third day, Gu Zhao indeed came to the inner courtyard again. The maid at the door deliberately did not report his arrival in advance. So when Gu Zhao pushed open the courtyard gate, he saw Li Shuyu, who claimed to be convalescing. The gentle and virtuous Li Shuyu, holding a whip with barbed ends and beating me. "Stop!" Gu Zhao stepped forward to block Li Shuyu's whip, helped me up, and saw the bloodstains on my arms. He growled at Li Shuyu in frustration. "Do you think the words I spoke that day were just empty threats? My lord, please don't blame the wife of the Marquis. She is disciplining me because she must be speaking out for Dr. Su Chang. You worthless servant! How dare you act innocent in front of me?" I didn't know what green tea meant in the young lady's mouth, but I guessed it was an insult. Normal. My original purpose was to provoke her. She was indeed so angry that she raised her hand. But Gu Zhao snatched the whip away, pushed the young lady aside, picked me up horizontally, and hurried out of the courtyard. From today onward, Xiao Dai will serve by my side. Xiao Hong at the door was happy for me. Maids are people too, no one wants to serve a mistress like Li Shuyu, who is sickly, cruel, and could drag her own servant down at any moment. But I'm not strong enough yet to take all the sisters in the courtyard with me. After that day, the young lady started another cold war with Gu Zhao. She started taking the medicine again, but Dr. Zhang noticed immediately. The next day, it reached Gu Zhao's ears. The lady is listless, refusing to take her medicine all day. Yet she keeps muttering that she's about to die. It must be a mental illness, even I am powerless to help. Gu Zhao ignored her. The matter in Xuchang was like a thorn in his heart. Li Shuyu finally couldn't stand it anymore and went to see Gu Zhao. She stood on the bridge, intending to use her old trick, fainting in front of him to make him rush to her aid. This time, however, Gu Zhao didn't even glance at her. For on that day, the concubine Sunying had entered the mansion. Sunying was plump and beautiful, though the young miss stood beside her with the delicate beauty of a willow in the wind. She looked pale and sickly in comparison. Just like in her previous life, Sunying stole all of Gu Zhao's affection the moment she entered the mansion. Sunying came from a lowly background and lacked worldly knowledge. Once she gained favor, She forgot her place and dared to provoke the young miss in the inner courtyard. Who doesn't know about the mistress's shady affairs? What's so special about being the main wife? The Marquis doesn't even glance at you. And divorcing you is only a matter of time. She stole the young lady's fabrics and jewelry. And after serving the mistress each night, she deliberately passed by the young lady's autumn water pavilion to mock her. Li Shuyu could no longer tolerate it and finally made her way to Gu Zhao's study. Gu Zhao was discussing important matters inside the study. Only I, the maid, was waiting outside. Go announce my arrival, I wish to see him. The Marquis has said that he is handling official business at this hour and will see no one. Li Shuyu tried to force her way in but was politely stopped by 2 guards. I stepped forward and said, Miss, are you here to complain to the Marquis about how Ying Xianyang bullied you? Li Shuyu was caught off guard by my words. You know that and still won't let me in? If it's about that, there's no need to see the Marquis. I smiled sweetly. Miss, you say every day that you're about to die. If Ying Xianyang is bullying you, just endure it for now. Once you're dead, the Marquis will naturally feel sorry for you and include today's incident in his grief. The miss trembled, pointing her finger angrily at my forehead, then suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed on the ground. This time, the miss was truly ill. When the system was active, she was made to take a medicine called Sixi Shivery Day. This medicine was harmless to the body but made one appear beautifully ill. In her previous life, under the effects of Sixi Shi, the young lady was so beautiful even as a corpse that it was terrifying. But Su Chang was dead. The system had malfunctioned, and the young lady couldn't get the medicine to feign illness. Yet she was still in the middle of her mission. The female lead in a dead person's literature stream must die. As if guided by fate, the young lady indeed fell seriously ill. She realized with dread that if she died now, Gu Zhao would never feel remorse or pity for her, and she would be unable to complete the dead person's literature plot. If she died this time, it would be permanent, no reincarnation. No love or wealth from Gu Zhao. She decided to risk her life. At Gu Zhao's birthday banquet, she arranged for someone to assassinate him and then sacrificed herself to block the blade for him. She and Gu Zhao had an emotional foundation. As long as she performed a self-sacrificing act to save his life, Gu Zhao would surely love her even more out of pity. Then, if she died of her illness afterward, she would be reborn from the brink of death. This is what Xiao Hong told me. After I left the courtyard, Xiao Hong became Li Shuyu's personal attendant. Li Shuyu never imagined that the 5 maids in her courtyard had all become my confidants and spies. On the day of the birthday banquet, I spread the word in advance that Li Shuyu planned to accuse the Marquis at the banquet. Ying Xianyang indeed blocked Li Shuyu's path and began to argue in a sarcastic tone. Didn't you say you were sick? The Marquis knows you're sick and didn't even come to see you. Yet you still want to go to the birthday banquet and ruin his mood? Let me tell you. The Marquis knows I'm bullying you. Even if you complain, it won't do any good. The Marquis spoils me. As his favored concubine, I can destroy you. The wife. Don't you dare defy me. Ying Xianyang was clearly nervous, fearing that Li Shuyu would report her and cause trouble for herself. So she refused to let her cross the bridge. Li Shuyu had arranged the time with the assassin she had bribed. That time coincided with the shift change for the guards in the mansion. Li Shuyu had to ensure that the assassin could carry out the assassination without being stopped by the guards immediately. Otherwise her plan would fail. She couldn't afford to delay. So in her panic, she pushed Sunying aside. Sunying was startled. How dare you push me? Don't you know I'm pregnant? Li Shuyu suddenly stopped in her tracks. Sunying rubbed her belly triumphantly. Such good fortune is something the mistress doesn't have. Li Shuyu suddenly grabbed Sunying's hair and pushed her into the lake. At the same time, at the birthday banquet, the assassin who had been lying in wait arrived at the appointed time and charged toward Gu Zhao with a short knife. There were many high-ranking officials and nobles present, many of whom had brought their wives and daughters to the banquet. As soon as the assassin moved, the banquet descended into chaos. The assassin had a clear target and charged straight toward Gu Shao. At the last moment, I stepped forward to block him. The assassin was just putting on a show, his knife only grazed my shoulder. But the blood flowed profusely. The guard snapped out of it and pinned the assassin to the ground. The assassin was a hired killer after failing his mission. He bit into a poison-filled pouch and killed himself. Li Shuyu arrived just in time to play the heroine. But she saw Gu Shao holding me, covered in blood, and frantically calling for a doctor. All her plans had failed. But ironically, she had inadvertently saved me. The young lady nearly lost her composure. "You worthless woman. What are you acting for?" I curled up, weakly calling out, "Lord Gu, I'm in pain." Gu Shao coldly glanced at Li Shuyu, picked me up horizontally, and hurried to his warm chamber. When I woke up, Gu Shao was by my side. I never expected that in such a critical moment. The one who risked her life to protect me would be you, Shao Dai. When I saw the assassin stab the Marquis with the knife, there was only one thought in my mind: to save the Marquis. Gu Shao was deeply moved and embraced me tightly. Just then, Li Shuyu burst in and saw me being held tightly by Gu Shao. "Zhang, the doctor said the assassin didn't hit any vital organs. But Shao Dai's right arm was injured, and she may not be able to do heavy work in the future." "What kind of heavy labor?" "Shao Dai, I will take you as my concubine." Gu Shao looked at me with deep affection. "From the moment you took out Su Chang's eyes, I knew we were kindred spirits. We admire each other. As my person, you will never have to suffer again." "You want to take her as your concubine? Did you ask me?" Li Shuyu screamed hysterically. But Gu Zhao's gaze remained fixed on me. "Shao Dai risked her life for me. Can you do that, madam?" I should have been the one tonight. What was supposed to be yours?" I leaned against Gu Zhao's chest and asked softly, "Did the young lady already know there would be an assassination tonight? Was the assassin sent by the young lady? Was the young lady planning to use a ploy to regain favor tonight?" Li Shuyu was flustered by my 3 questions. She was furious and ashamed. "Xing Shao Dai, you traitorous slave!" Li Shuyu tried to rush forward to choke me, but suddenly started coughing, her face pale and weak. She looked as though she were on the verge of death. I knew she wasn't feigning illness, which was why she had gone to such lengths to hire a loyal assassin to carry out the scheme. Alas, in this life-or-death situation meant to reignite Gu Zhao's love, the female lead had become me. Gu Shao declared without hesitation, "From this day forward, Xing Shao Dai, you shall be my concubine." "My lord." Shao Dai has been waiting for these words for 10 years. I feigned tears of sorrow. Gu Shao pressed further. 10 years? 10 years ago, in the cave, when my lord was unconscious, it was actually Shao Dai who tended to you. Gu Shao was stunned. According to the plot of my previous life, Gu Shao and Li Shuyu had been destined for each other since childhood. Back then, during a hunting expedition, Li Shuyu and Gu Shao both fell off a cliff in an accident. Gu Shao was severely injured, and it was Li Shuyu who stayed with him in the cave for 10 days and 10 nights, eventually waiting for rescue together. It was precisely because of this past affection that Li Shuyu later abandoned Gu Shao. After Gu Shao achieved fame and fortune and forcibly married her, he felt both love and hatred toward her, love for her unwavering loyalty during their time of hardship, and hatred for her former snobbish and materialistic demeanor. I have always served by the young lady's side. She suddenly changed her personality 3 years ago. My mistress was once a gentle and well-educated woman. I thought her change in temperament was due to that illness. It wasn't until after I died in my previous life that I realized my mistress had already been killed by someone else. Just as the system parasitized on Su Chang, the original Su Chang died at that moment. The real Li Shuyu is dead. The one who survived is merely a selfish and cruel person from another world. According to the system, She is what they call the conqueror. One of the system's crucial functions is to remind the current Li Shuyu of key plot points. Now the system has malfunctioned. Li Shuyu knows nothing about this incident from 10 years ago. She only vaguely remembers that the female lead and the male lead had a brief romance in their youth. When I mentioned it, she immediately grew anxious. You're lying. It was me who saved him. Miss. Dare you confront me with the details? I recounted every minute detail of what happened in the cave back then. Gu Shao nodded repeatedly. And by the end, tears streamed down his face. But the miss couldn't utter a single word. It was the miss who grabbed my life-saving favor. Xiao Dai dared to tell the Marquis only now. I was the young lady's most trusted confidant. At that time, she was just beginning to fall in love and told me everything that happened in the cave, including Gu Xiao's reactions and even the words he muttered in his sleep. But the young lady is dead, and her soul has vanished into the void. Her family doesn't even realize they've lost their beloved daughter. A soul from another world has grabbed everything that belonged to the young lady. I must avenge the young lady. This youthful romance is Li Shuyu's lifeline. As long as Gu Shao remembers this love, after Li Shuyu's death, he will shed at least a few tears for her. But now, this old love belongs to me. Xing Xiao Dai. Gu Zhao's gaze toward Li Shuyu was tinged with disgust. At that moment, the steward rushed in urgently. Master, something terrible has happened. Lady Ying was pushed into the lake by the wife of the Marquis. What? The maidservant said she saw the mistress push Lady Ying into the lake with her own eyes. Lady Ying cannot swim. But fortunately, we discovered it in time. But the doctor said that Ying Xianyang is pregnant. She is fine. But the child in her womb has drowned. I pretended to be frightened and cowered into Gu Zhao's embrace. Did the young lady push Ying Xianyang into the water out of jealousy? Will she push me into the water too in the future? Master, I'm so scared. Li Shuyu looked at my performance in shock and anger. I knew she wanted to call me a green tea. Since I was a child, I've been a lowly maid. I was born into a lowly life. But as long as I can survive, I'm willing to be anything, green tea or red tea. Ying Xianyang's child is gone, and Gu Shao confined Li Shuyu to house arrest for life. All the maids around her were dismissed, and I was given my own small courtyard. I brought Xiao Hong and the others to live with me, so they wouldn't have to endure hunger, fear, and hardship because their mistress was out of favor. Dr. Zhang came that day and said Li Shuyu was gravely ill and truly on the brink of death. I was grinding ink for Gu Shao when he heard the news. But he didn't even look up. I knew that this was the critical plot point in the dead person's literature. If Gu Shao didn't go to see her, he might regret it later. This was the world off dead person's literature. Even if the system on Su Chang's body had malfunctioned, it didn't mean there were no other systems. I didn't intervene to avoid Gu Shao madly blaming me. As the night grew deeper, I took Xiao Hong back to the Mrs. Autumn Water Pavilion. Xiao Hong watched the door for me. As soon as I entered the room, I saw Li Shuyu staring at me with her hollow eyes. She seemed to have anticipated my arrival and was waiting for me on purpose. I came here just to ask you, where is my mistress? Where was the gentle, kind, and optimistic Li Shuyu? The fake Li Shuyu smiled. She's been dead for a long time. From the moment I entered this body, her soul was torn apart and scattered by the system. I had anticipated this outcome. But when faced with it, I couldn't suppress my anger. Why did you come here? Why did you grab someone else's life? Because in another world, I lived too hard. The system said that the world in the book is better. I just need to be lazy and wallow in self-pity. Die again, and I'll get a powerful man's lifelong love, enjoy the privileges and wealth of the feudal era, and have a bunch of maids to serve me. Isn't that great? It's absolutely amazing. As for your mistress, including that Dr. Su Chang, you're all just paper cutouts. In our time, you didn't even have human rights. So I grabbed your mistress's life, and the system grabbed Su Chang's life. This is just survival of the fittest. You, a lowly creature, wouldn't understand. The fake Li Shuyu looked down on me with arrogance. Though her defeat was certain, she wasn't as hysterical as before. I merely looked at her coldly. I don't need to understand. And I wouldn't deign to empathize with you cold-blooded creatures who think yourselves superior. As I turned to leave, the fake Li Shuyu suddenly said, I suppose I won't survive the night. Shall die. I know you've already figured some things out. Then guess again, will Gu Shao regret my death? Guess, will I come back to life because of his regret? She burst into laughter, then coughed up a mouthful of blood and collapsed on the bed, writhing in agony. At dawn, Li Shuyu's body was twisted and stiff on the beauty bed. Upon hearing of her death, Gu Shao showed little emotion. But on the day of Li Shuyu's funeral, Gu Shao wept. Xiao Hong told me. Before she died, Li Shuyu left a final letter. In it, she said that she abandoned Gu Shao not because she despised poverty and loved wealth, but because she was terminally ill and feared she wouldn't survive, unwilling to drag Gu Shao down with her. Now that Li Shuyu has truly died of her illness, the doctor who examined her pulse earlier couldn't detect it. But now he suddenly changed his words, saying that Li Shuyu indeed seemed to have a chronic illness before her death. So the Marquis is heartbroken. I raised my deep eyes. He might also regret it. In the end, everything unfolded according to the patterns of tragic literature. Gu Zhao's gaze toward me began to subtly turn to hatred. His belated love for Li Shuyu began to resurface. He started to blame me. Rumors began to spread throughout the mansion, claiming that I had driven the young miss to her death. That I had driven my former master to her death. Gu Shao carved the words beloved wife in Li Shuyu's tombstone with deep emotion. Everyone assumed that after falling out of favor, I would be depressed and unable to eat. In reality, I could eat 3 bowls of rice in one meal. Gu Shao doesn't love me, but I still live a healthy and sunny life. This clearly defies the conventions of tragic literature. One day, Sun Ying entered my small courtyard. She was no longer the most favored concubine by Gu Shao, so she had long since abandoned her arrogant demeanor toward me. But this time, she entered and spoke to me in a commanding tone. A man doesn't love you, yet you still have the nerve to eat and sleep? I bit into the large bun in my hand. This was the bun Xiao Hong had made for me, with thin skin and plenty of filling. Delicious beyond words. Compared to a bun, what's a man's love worth? You're good for nothing. Sun Ying suddenly reached out and flipped over the plate of buns in front of me. I flew into a rage and punched her in the face. System! Dare you come before me like this? Sun Ying had been taken over by the system. I was right, this world wasn't just home to one system. They appeared at any moment, tearing apart the original host's soul and taking over their identity, all to continuously cultivate one love-obsessed female lead after another for dead people's literature. And I, this lowly maid, had fought my way up step by step and finally caught their attention. We have chosen you as the new female lead because you possess all the traits of a female lead in dead literature. Sun Ying's voice was mechanical, lacking the humanity of Su Chang's voice from before. It seems that the system that possessed her this time has not yet fully adapted to the new physical host. I bit into a meat bun, chewing slowly. Tell me, what about me fits the bill? Your mistress is the male lead's deceased white moonlight. The male lead can see the shadow of his white moonlight in you, and her death was indirectly caused by you. At the same time, the male lead has developed genuine feelings for you, and his emotions toward you are in a delicate state of love and hate. Being loved and hated by a man is one of the standard traits of a female lead in dead person literature. Congratulations, Xing Shao Dai. You fit the bill perfectly, the system said forcefully. Next, I will assign you a task. The system will regularly give you a drug called 6 Shivaree Day under the guise of a concubine looking for a lover. After taking this drug, you will appear sickly. weak, and beautiful, arousing pity and love. The system has analyzed that such a sick beauty is most likely to arouse the male lead's pity and regret. As the female lead in a tragic romance, you should regard a man's love as your everything. Gu Shao has begun to neglect you. You should feel heartbroken over his indifference. You should lose your appetite entirely, starving yourself to the point of self-torture. You should resist any effective medicine and allow your minor illness to escalate into a serious condition. You should be heartbroken every day and never show any smile except in front of Gu Shao. When Gu Shao misunderstands you, you can only cry and not explain. When Gu Shao abuses you for another woman, you must not complain. When Gu Shao makes you starve, you should accept it willingly. In extreme cases, Gu Shao may harm your family. You must set aside even the hatred of having your parents killed and continue to love him unwaveringly. If you truly cannot control your hatred, you should choose to take your own life so that Gu Shao loses the one he loves forever. I laughed. Then what? The system said, you will be tortured to death step by step. You will die in a tragic and gruesome manner, becoming the second white moonlight in Gu Zhao's heart. As long as your death triggers Gu Zhao's regret and love, the system will reward you with rebirth, grant you a healthy body, and you will also receive Gu Zhao's wholehearted love. But I'm already healthy now. You must accept the mission. Host. Sunying's eyes, which were possessed by the system, stared at me with an oppressive gaze. I laughed and raised my hand. 10 guards rushed in from outside the courtyard. They quickly pinned Sunying to the ground. I'm out of favor, not out of power. I gripped Sunying's chin and stared through her pupils at the system embedded within. In these eyes, right? Do you know whose eyes were gouged out in Xuchang? I pulled out a small knife from my sleeve and toyed with it. The system forced itself to remain calm. Sunying is also a favored concubine. You dare not gouge out her eyes. You have some brains, but you've forgotten that I'm the favored concubine who truly holds Gu Zhao's heart. I risked my life for Gu Shao. He said with his own mouth that I'm his kind of person. I schemed for over a year to win his heart. Also that I could lose favor but not power. Do you think just because you're attached to Sunying, I won't dare touch you? A disfavored concubine, I can kill her whenever I want. My knife sliced across Sunying's eyelid, and she began to tremble. Sunying's soul had been torn apart by the system, so the current Sunying was merely a dead, system-controlled vessel. Not to mention that I already had a grudge against Sunying from my previous life. Killing a vessel is no big deal to me. My blade sliced open Sunying's eyelid, and the system tasted the blood. Realizing I wasn't bluffing, it emitted a terrifying electrical hum. Host. No. Master. Spare my life. I'm just an enforcer of this world's rules. Don't gouge out my eyes. Don't gouge out my eyes. The 2 cries of Master were very tactful, so I loosened my grip on the knife and told the guards to wait outside the courtyard. The system knelt before me, its body trembling. I'll ask one question, and you answer one. If you dare to lie, your eyeballs will be crushed under my feet. Master, please ask. Master, please ask. I sat back in my chair. Do your systems just randomly grab whose bodies to take over? The system obediently replied, we can only grab ordinary people. Someone like Su Chang, who has some skills but is just a lowly commoner. And Sunying, who is ultimately a lowly concubine. Their souls can be easily torn apart. As for Li Shuyu, her soul was seized because of the jealousy and greed of the player who targeted her. She chose Li Shuyu's body to experience the life of an ancient noblewoman. But after failing her mission, her soul was completely obliterated, leaving no chance for reincarnation. But you, my master, are different. You are a prodigy with extraordinary talent, having risen from an insignificant maid to become the male lead's personally appointed concubine. The original owner, Li Shuyu, unknowingly transferred all her fortune to you. You are now the fortune-blessed woman of this world. No system can arbitrarily seize your body, they can only force you to carry out tasks, making you willingly become the female lead of a tragic romance novel. I see. What if I don't listen to you? The system trembled. I dare not harm the master. You are already so powerful. But this world has a supreme god system. If I fail to complete the task, I will be destroyed. Out of consideration for my obedience, please spare the little system this once. The system crawled to my feet, rubbing against my thigh. I lifted her chin. There's a solution that benefits both of us. Master, please speak. Who said that in dead literature the protagonist has to be female? The system stared at me in shock. I laughed with ambition. Make Gu Shao the male protagonist of the next round of dead literature, and I'll spare you. Gu Shao didn't know the system's fatal weakness was its eyes. When the system first appeared before him, he sneered at it. Immediately afterward, the system offered a generous reward. If you become the male lead in the dead literature, after you die, you will trigger Xing Xiaodia's regret and love for you. Then, you will be resurrected. The system promises to grant you a long life, promote you to high ranks, and bestow upon you the titles of king and minister. These don't appeal to me. Gu Shao resembled a righteous gentleman. Just as the system thought it couldn't sway him, Gu Shao suddenly said greedily, "Add one more condition. After I'm reborn, I want to marry the current princess as my new wife." He had fallen in love so quickly. The system laughed, frowny face steel. I began to actively soften toward Gu Shao, pretending to love him deeply, unable to live without him. Gu Shao thought I didn't know about the system, so he responded to my affection as if he were toying with me. Soon, I saw the same sickly complexion on his face as Li Shu had. He had started taking the medicine. Once the plot began, there was no turning back. I knew Gu Shao had fallen for it. Unlike sick Shishir, the medicine Gu Shao took was called sick panin. The system said that no man had ever been the protagonist of a dead man's literature history, and this sick panin was a temporary creation of the system. After a man takes sick panin, he transforms into a sickly beauty with an alluring figure, handsome features, and fair skin. At first, I lingered by Gu Zhao's bedside every day. After all, such a sickly beauty was too tempting to resist. Soon, I became pregnant. Gu Zhao's guard toward me vanished completely. She's carrying my child. After I die, she'll see the child and think of me. I will definitely make Xing Xiaodai weep and regret it after I die. Immortality, becoming a king, marrying a princess, these are all within my grasp. A year later, I gave birth to a son, Gu Zhao's only son, but he didn't rush to name him the heir of the marquis. I knew he looked down on the child I had borne him. All he could think about was reincarnating to marry a princess and have a son with her to inherit his title. When the boy was 3, Gu Zhao's body began to weaken under the effects of the sick panin potion, and the system intervened in his consciousness. He could no longer manage his affairs. All matters within and outside the Marquis's mansion fell into my hands. I spent each day busy and fulfilled, holding the reins of the Marquis's household and power in my hands, a feeling akin to standing atop Mount Tai, with the world at my feet. Damn it! Standing at the pinnacle of power is so exhilarating. And Gu Shao had enjoyed such a life for all these years. It was time for him to step aside. In just 1 year, I became the true decision-maker of the Marquis's mansion. Gu Shao, who was convalescing in the back courtyard, began to feel insecure. He refused to take his medicine and spent his days wallowing in self-pity. Xiaodai didn't even acknowledge me today. She doesn't know that I'm about to die. The scholar I had brought home to teach my son to read and the young general who taught me archery were always by my side. Gu Shao watched the scene and wept silently. She's treating me so coldly. When she finds out I'm about to die, she'll be heartbroken. That winter, I was playing hide-and-seek with the young general and the scholar inside the house. Gu Shao waited outside in the snow all night and fell ill from the cold. The old steward came to report this to me. But Gu Shao said, "Don't tell her. Once I'm dead, Xiao Dai will know the pain of losing me. She'll regret it deeply." The harshest punishment for a woman is to prevent her from seeing the man she loves most in the world before he dies. By the end of winter, the system alerted me that Gu Shao was truly near death. When I brought the children to see him, he could no longer get out of bed. Upon seeing his son, he looked deeply troubled. Because his son didn't resemble him at all, he took after me completely. After Hades, how will I remember him through his likeness? The son was sent away, and Gu Shao held my hand, beginning to say some words he thought were deeply emotional. "Xiao Dai, the woman I loved most in my life was you. After I die, you must live happily. Please don't forget me, or I'll be heartbroken." He was about to die, yet his eyes gleamed with greed, the excitement of being reborn as a prince, crowned king, and marrying a princess. "Lord Gu, I don't love you." My single sentence extinguished the light in Gu Zhao's eyes. He thought he had heard wrong and sat up. "Xiao Dai, what did you say?" I clapped my hands, and Suning, the system in Gu Zhao's eyes, walked over to my side and stood behind me. "Suning is my person. The system is also my person. It was I who instructed the system to tempt the Marquis into this deal. Now you are about to die. I'm just a bit cruel to my enemies. I don't want to see you die while still dreaming of marrying a princess and rising to power." I stepped forward, gripping his chin. "Gu Shao, I want you to die with your eyes open. I'll use your death in this life to avenge the suffering of my past life." Gu Shao finally realized he had been tricked. He lunged at me to strangle me, but fell to the ground, coughing up a mouthful of blood. The system said, "Frowny face Gu Shao, your death is inevitable. To be reborn, you must obtain Shin Xiaodia's remorse and love. But look at Shin Xiao Dai, she knows you're about to die. And she's laughing so happily." I couldn't help but smile. After scheming for so many years and enduring this man for so long, I finally got to kill him. Ha 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 ha. Gu Shao was driven to his death by me. Ha 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 ha. My son successfully inherited the title, and I became the matriarch of the Gu mansion. Is this a world of dead literature? But I insist on thriving in this filthy swamp where tormenting women is considered deep affection and disciplining them as a source of joy. I will flourish and grow. And in this unequal worldview, I will protect every woman I can. The end.